Hello guys, hope all of you are doing great. This is part 3 of our Learn Google Sheet Functions video series. In this video, we are going to learn about these four functions. Not only these functions, but also we are going to learn about a set of symbols. I have written here these symbols in three different groups because they have their own meaning in Google Sheet application. The first set of symbols are called as the comparison operators. These second set of symbols are called as the wildcards. And the third group that contains only one symbol, it is called as the concatenate operator. In this video, first we'll learn what are the functionalities of these different functions. And then we'll learn how to use these different symbols in combination with these functions to carry out some meaningful tasks. One thing you have to remember that these symbols are independent from these functions in the sense that you can use these symbols not only with these functions but also with some other functions. Say, for example, in the last video, you people have learned about some if and some ifs function. There also, that is with those functions also, you can use these different symbols to perform some meaningful tasks. However, I didn't say anything about these symbols in the last video. But still, you people do not need to worry about it because if you know how to use these symbols with these functions, then automatically you will know how to use these symbols with some other functions like some if and some ifs. Okay, then let's begin. The first function that we are going to learn in this video is the count function. What does this count function do? It counts the number of numeric values present in a dataset or in a given range. So for example, I write count and then I write, see here, as soon as I write up to this point, then this help menu appears. Okay, and then you can see this about section. It returns the number of numeric values in a dataset. Okay, so whatever the data you give as an input to count function, what this count function will do is it will scan the input data and it will see how many numeric values are there in the input data, and then it will return that number. Say for example, I write here these numbers as 1, comma, say then I write here 2 within double quotation, comma, then I write say for example 4.fr, some strings I'm writing here, 4.fr strings. Okay, I'll tell you what is a string. And then I write there say again 1, then I write there 2.2, and then I write there say ABC within double quotation. Okay, like that, and then I'm closing it. Now you see here what is happening. These count function, as it says, like it is the number of numeric values in a data set. So suppose this is the data set to this count function. Our task is like how many numeric values are there. So for that reason, we need to know what is a numeric value. See, anything that is a number is a numeric value, and which is not a number is not a numeric value, right? Simple and straightforward. Now see, this 1 is a number. These 2, although it is written within this double quotation, but still it is a number, right? I mean, 2 within double quotation, it's a number. 4.fr, certainly this is not a number. I mean, it is not a number. I mean, no equivalent number you will find. Like, what is this 4.fr, right? It is not a number. This, although see here, these sort of things are called as strings in computer science. This string, although it contains a digit or this decimal, that dot, but still these f and r, they do not represent any numeric equivalent part. So for that reason, this entire string cannot be treated as a number. This 1 is a number, 2.2, it is a number. So here, this is a decimal number. It contains some fractional part, so it is a decimal number. This 1, it doesn't have any fractional part, so it is an integer number. And these numbers can be positive and negative as well. Say, for example, -1. For example, say, 2.2, or you can write here a -2.2. And again, these ABC, this is a string. This is not a number, clearly, right? So in this input data set, how many numbers are there? How many numeric values are there? So if we count it manually, let's see, 1, 2, this is not, then 3, 4, and this is not. So out of these 6 input data, there are 4 numeric values there, right? So as a result, this count function is going to return us a 4. So that is what a count function does. Now see, instead of writing this input in this way, sometimes you might want to write the input in this way. But in most of the cases, what will happen is that we would like to specify the input to count function, not only to count function, but most of the functions in the form of a range, because our data are there in the Google Sheet spread across columns and rows, right? Spread across some cells. So we want to give input to functions usually in terms of the cell names. So for example, we have some data here. So suppose I want to specify some data here, but to, let me change the background color of these cells. So what I'll do is I'll fill these cells. No, no, not this one. Well, let me select these cells and then I fill these cells with this color. Okay, just to highlight that I like my input range will be this. Okay, first let's see. Suppose what I want to do is that I want to count how many numeric values are there in this range. In this range means from here to here, how many numeric values are there. So what I do is I write count function and then I select from here to here this range. See here the range is D136 to Z144. This is D136 from this cell to G144, Z144. From this cell to this cell, this entire range. In this entire range of cells, what we want to do is we want to count how many numbers or numeric values are there. So I'll select this part and I'll close the bracket and then I'll press enter. As expected, you will see that the output is 0 because there are no cells here in this input range of cells where there is a numeric value. Say for example, now I write here a number, I write here a 12. Now see, as soon as I write 12 here, as expected again, this output is now changed to 1. Because see, in this range from D136 to Z144, in this range, there is a single cell where a number is there. Say I write another value here. Say for example, I write 1.EWR32. Something I have written there, but that is certainly not a number. Since it is not a number in this given range, again, total number of numeric values, still it is 1. So this cell is showing you the right answer. Still the value answer of this count function is 1. Now say I write here some numbers, like say I write here 11, I write here 10, 12, and say 23, then minus 67. Just for explanation, I'm writing some number there, 23, and say 4, and say 4. And let me fill this. Let me write here 21, and let me fill this, okay, by dragging it in this direction, by dragging it in this direction, and like that. These are all 21, like that. Some numbers I have written. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to count. See here, as soon as I change the value of these cells, the output is also changed. What is what is the content of this cell? It is like count D136 to Z144, D136 to this, that is within this range. How many numbers are there? That is the value this cell is showing. Now, how many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 into 3 is your 18 plus 1. I did a mistake here. It's not 9 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 into 3, sorry. 9 into 3 is 27 plus 1, 28. Okay, so this is the output. Now, I guess if people got the idea of this count function, now it is a very simple function. See, the function in itself is very easy. However, the point is, if a problem is given to you, you have to identify like what function you can use to solve that problem. And that is the interesting part. So right now I'm telling you the first part, like how to use the function in its own. Okay, so that is very straightforward and simple. However, once we learn these basic uses, then I'll also show you some practical examples. Like I'll give you some questions. I'll try to solve some questions where the name of the function is not directly mentioned. From the question, we have to decide, okay, what function we have to use and how we have to use the function to get the result or get the work done. And that part will be interesting. And anyhow, that part will be there in this video itself, so you do not worry. First, let us learn the basic uses, then we can we'll try to use those tools what we learn to solve some problems. Okay, having said so, our next problem is next function that we are going to learn in this video is count a. Now see, these a you can think of as these ax you can think of as like count all, stands for all. So this function count basically it is count all. So what this function does, see from the name itself you can make a guess, like it counts everything, not only the numeric values but also the strings. Okay, now let's say for example I write there what is say for example I write count a, and then I write here a b c comma 1 comma 2 comma x y g. Now see, if I press enter, you will see this COUNTA function will count all the input values irrespective of whether it is a number or it is a string. So as a result, you can expect that this COUNTA function will return here 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 values there, out of which 2 are numeric, 2 are strings, but still total number of values in this input range or in this input dataset is 4. So as a result, this COUNTA function is going to return us 4. Right, this is your 4. Okay, now see, before proceeding further, just let's see the help menu of count a function. You'll be writing count a, and this to get the help menu you'll click here and you will see, no, I wanted to scroll up first. Okay, now you write count a, and then here what it does, returns the number of values in a data set. It is not mentioning here that the numeric values or something. It returns the number of values. As many values are there in the input range or input data set, it will return you that count. Okay, so that is what this count a function does. It counts everything, count all. For that reason this a is coming. Okay, now let me give you this example again. Say we want to count, this is a problem here. We want to count how many how many values are there in this range. Okay, so we will be counting that. So count a, and from where to where? From this cell to this cell. So we'll be writing there count a from where to where? From here to here. And then we'll be closing it. Done. So there are 28 cells where there are some values. Okay, now see, these outputs are same right now. This count function was also telling that there are 28 numeric values, and this count a function is also telling that there are 28 values. This is true because all these values are numeric values, right? Say instead of writing 31, now I write there 31 UIOU, some string. I'm converting this numeric value to some non-numeric value. As soon as I do that, you can see that the value of this cell has been changed from 28 to 27, and this is still 28. Okay, why it is happening here? Why this thing is happening? Because obviously you know, right? So in this range of cells there are 27 numeric cells are there, one is non-numeric, so as a result the output of count function is 27. However, since this count a function is counting all the cells, wherever there is a value it is counting all the cells, as a result you are getting here 28. One point of interest is that, see here, when the input range to this function, what was the input range from here to here? In this input range, there are 36 cells. However, the output is coming as 28 because see, in these cells, there are no values. In this cell, no value is there, no value is there, no value is there. So as a result, the COUNTA function is excluding those cells from it, from its counting. So as a result, we are getting here the output as 28. As soon as I type some values there, no matter whether these values are numeric or non-numeric or anything, actually, it could be a symbol also. As soon as I type some values there, the output will be like, if I fill all these cells, then output will be 36. Yeah. I guess if people got the understood the no, the idea of this count a function also. So basically, both these two functions counts the number of cells, however, based on different condition. This count function counts if the values are numeric. However, this count a function counts if the values are anything like whether it is numeric or non-numeric, except those empty cells. It will not count the empty cells present in the data set or present in the input range. Okay, these two are the simplest form of count functions. Now we are going to move forward and we are going to learn some two another forms of count functions, slightly complicated. I don't say complicated because we have learned such functions in the previous video also when we learned some if and some ifs functions. Same thing here also. Now we are going to learn this count if function. See, it is same as like sum if. If you remember sum if was conditional summing. Here this count if is actually, there are two words, right? You can see that count if. It is like conditional counting. If means condition, count means count. So it is conditional counting. That is, if you want to count based on some condition, then you can use this count if function. Okay, let's see an example. So for example, I'll be using these input range. So let me change the color first. It becomes easier, no? This one, field color, and let me choose this color. Okay, count it. Now say for example, I type here some numbers there like 23. Oh, this is, I like yellow here. This is 23. Just a second. Sometimes it happens. You do things. Okay, why it is happening? Because most probably I did mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable part of life. Somebody said like that. But anyhow, let me type 23. Some numbers there. I'm like typing 23, 34, and then 40, 54, 67, 21. I'm just typing some numbers. Huh? You do not just hold on. And it's okay. 78, 21, and 23. Say I typed some numbers there. And then what my goal is that we want to count how many numbers are there in this range. Now we think that is simple. We can use count function. Yeah, true. If I simply ask you how many numbers are there in this range of cells, then you can use count function and then it will tell you how many numbers are there. But this time I want to include a, now this is not the question. Let us see here. What I said is how many numbers are there in these cells. If that is my question, then the things are very easy. You can use count function. But this, I'm going to change my question now. How many numbers are there in these cells which are, see here, I'm putting a condition now, which are, say, greater than, say, I choose a number, say, for example, 50. Okay, now these things, see how many numbers are there, how many numbers are there in this cell, how many numbers are there in these cells. That is one part, right, in these cells. And then which are greater than 50, this is another part. Like this is the condition part actually, or this is the condition part, right? So this is count and this is if. Counting based on some condition, count if function. So if you want to answer some questions like these on a data set, on a given data set, or on a given Excel sheet or Google sheet, then you can make use of this count function, count if function. Okay, let's try to do it first. So we will try to answer this question. How we are going to do this? First thing is, we know like this count if function we have to use. So we'll be writing equal countif, COUNTIF. The thing is, what you can do is first, let's see the the help menu of this. What does it do? Returns a conditional count across a range. That's what I said. Across this range, it returns a conditional count. Like how many numbers are there which are greater than 50. And this is the syntax. Very simple. I mean, you can interpret the syntax that this is the input range. Two mandatory inputs you have to specify. The input range, that is this range where you want to compute the counting, and then the criterion, that is the condition, what based on what condition you want to compute the counting. So this is the input range, and somehow you have to write the condition like greater than 50. So that these two things, if you specify as an input to countif function, countif function will return you the output. Okay, let's now specify. So first thing is that we have to specify the input range. That is very easy, right? Done. This is the input range. On this input, what is the condition that we want to check? We want to check like if any number is greater than 50 or not. So how we are going to write the condition? That the same approach we have taken with some function. What you have to do is, first thing you have to remember, as part of the syntax, you have to write the condition within double quotation. That is one thing you have to remember. As part of the syntax, you have to write the condition within double quotation. That is done. Now the next part is, okay, we know how to write it. Then the next thing is that how to write the actual condition. What is the actual condition in the question? Which are greater than 50. So if it is greater than 50, you'll be using this symbol greater than and then 50. It means like this condition is this condition is asking Google Sheet application to check that in this range, if anything is greater than 50. See here, this symbol, I'm reading it as greater than symbol. And if you remember in the first slide of the video, I have shown you, I told you about a set of symbols. Okay, this symbol was there also, like this symbol. This is one special symbol. Okay, I'll be coming to that point, but for the time being, I think it is the meaning of these greater than symbol is very clear. I mean, it checks if something is greater than 50 or not. Okay, but anyhow, I'll come to that point. Now see what it is doing. Now within this range, if anything is greater than 50, then we want to count. So everything is done. We have specified the input range, and also we have specified the condition. So we are ready to press enter. As soon as we press enter, we can see that it is showing us 6. So we can verify it manually for the first time. This is a number which is greater than 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 numbers which are greater than 50. Now say I change this 54 from 54 to 50. What you think? What will be the output of, what will be the value of this cell? See here, what condition we are checking? If it is greater than 50. Okay, now you should realize whether, now the question is whether 50 is greater than 50 or not. So make your guess. If I click outside, you will see the right output. And then if you predicted the right output, then it means you have understood the concept. And if it is not, then also do not worry. Certainly in the next question, you'll be able to predict the right output. So it is 5. See here, 50 is not greater than 50. See the condition here. Count if something is greater. Within this range, anything which is greater than 50, we want to count that. So as a result, see this 50, what it will do is basically how this countif function is going to work is that first it will take this, from this condition, it will take this number out. So 50. Now it will check 50 is greater than 23 or not. No, so it will not count. Then it will check 50 is greater than 34 or not. No, it will not count. It will check 50 is greater than 50 or not. 50 is greater than 50. It is not a true condition, right? If I say you that 50 is greater than 50, suppose I say you you have 50 rupees with you and I have 50 rupees with me, and I'm saying that I have more money than you. certainly that is not true, isn't it? Because I have 50 rupees, you also have 50 rupees, so I cannot say that I have more money than you. Neither you can say that you have more money than me, because we both of us are having equal amount of money. So neither I can say that I have more money than you, nor you can say that you have more money than me. Both these two statements will be false statements, right? So the same thing is happening here also. 50 is greater than 23. Clearly, it is uh, uh, 23 is greater than 50. See here, from this input range, it will take a number and it will be checked against this number 50, whether that number is greater than 50 or not. No. Whether 34 is greater than 50 or not. No. Whether 50 is greater than 50 or not. No. Whether 67 is greater than 50 or not. Yes, true. So it will count. Okay, now I got a match, so 1. Now for 21, not a match, 34, not a match, 78 match, so count is now 2. 21, not a match, 56 match, count is 3. 21, not a match, 67 match, count is 4, and 78 is a match, count is 5. For this 21 and 23, not a match, so the count will remain 5. And when the entire range is over, then it will display the output as 5 here. I guess you people understood the how it works, at least in some more details. Okay, so that is what this countif function does. It counts it counts over a input range against a given condition. So now, say for example, you might be asking, sir, what if we want to count that 50 also? Yeah, you can do that. So I can change my question, say which are greater than, or suppose the question was like this, which are greater than or equal to 50. So that thing. It means we not only we want to include no not only we want to count those numbers which are greater than 50, but also those cells where the value is equal to 50. So in that case, certainly most probably you have made a guess, and that is true. So this greater than or equal to, you'll be writing in this way: greater than or equal to. Okay, and as soon as I press enter, it is now 6. So this is what this countif function does. Now, since now I'm talking about these special symbols, let me introduce those special symbols. The symbols from the first group, okay? Those symbols are called as the comparison operator. Let me first tell you something about those operators, then things will be easy for you to follow. So those comparison operators are like greater than symbol. Sometimes we want to check if something is greater than something or not, or the equivalent is less than symbol, or sometimes you want to check whether something is greater than or equal to. Sometimes you might be want to checking like less than or equal to. And sometimes you might want to check only whether they are equal to one another or not. Sometimes you might want to check whether they are not equal to one another or not. These symbols, these different symbols are called as the comparison operators. Let me make them bold, and no, slightly bigger and bold. And let me change their color to something like this. So these symbols, like, do not you consider this comma. I have written just to separate them from one another, and that will be confusing, I guess. So let me remove those commas. That space. These are the comparison operators. Now see, these greater than symbol, like if you want to check if something is greater than something or not. Now I want to tell you one thing here. See, these are called as operators. These are called as comparison operators. They perform some comparisons. Suppose I write here. Now you see, I write here equal to 2 plus 3. Here plus is an operator. Okay, plus is an operator, and it takes input. It performs the addition operation, is not it? An operator is basically, you can think like, you know what is an operator, right? You can think it as a function that is performed on some input, and it gives you some result. Say whenever I write plus 2 plus 3, it means I'm performing the addition operation, isn't it? What is the result of 2 plus 3? 5. If you add two numbers, you will get another number. But what is the result of a comparison operator? These operators are called as comparison operators. Okay, and then they asks like they asks true false questions. That is important, huh? True false questions. What I mean by true false question is, let's say for example, again the same old example I'll be giving you. You have 50 rupees, I have 50 rupees. Now I'm saying you that I have more money than you. Whether this statement is true or false, either true or false, right? Now see, whenever you are using any of these symbols, it means you are asking a true or false question. Say for example here, what I mean is, say again, say I'm writing I have 50 rupees and you also have 50 rupees. So I'll be writing this the first equal symbol is coming from the I know that we are writing to indicate that in this cell whatever we are writing a function. So do not you interpret this equal symbol as the comparison equal symbol. That is coming as part of the syntax of writing a function. So forget about it. Now the next thing is that you have 50, I have 50, and I'm saying a statement that 50 is greater than 50. Now see, as soon as I this thing like this is a like this is a comparison operator, greater than comparison operator I'm applying on these two input, 50 greater than 50. You can think it of as if you are asking a you are writing a statement that 50 is greater than 50. Somebody is coming and checking, oh no, this is a false statement. And that is what this Google application will do. Google no sheet application will do. 50 is greater than 50, it is a false statement. See, the output of these comparison operators will always be either true or false. However, the output of these other operators like plus, minus, multiplication, they can be anything. 2 plus 3 is 5. If I add 100 plus 200 is 300, like that, right? Based on the input, the output might change. However, in this case, the simplicity is that the answer can be only true or false. Okay, if you do not trust, let me give you some more examples. Say for example, I write here equal to 50 less than 43. It is true or false? Yeah, right, it is false. So it is false. Now say I write there 50 less than 75. It is true. Or say I write 70 less than or equal to 70. Now see, 70 less than or equal to 70. You have 50 rupees, I have 50 rupees. If I say that I have less than or equal amount of money that you have, so this statement will be considered as true because I said both the thing. Either I have less than, although you have 70, I have 70, although we are having equal amount of money, but I said both the statements, right? That I have either less than or equal to amount of money that you have, isn't it? So since I said both the statements, any one of them is true, it means the entire statement is true. So 70 less than or equal to 70, whether that statement is true or false. When I write 70 less than or equal to 70, since I'm writing there or, that or part is coming, 70 less than or equal to 70, that will be a true statement. True statement. Now see, if I write 67 less than or equal to 70, what do you think? What you think if I write 67 less than or equal to 70? Whether it will be true or false? Make a guess. If you have predicted the output right, it means you have understood. 67 less than or equal to 70. Think logically. I'm saying both the things. 67, it could be either less than 70 or equal to 70. Equal to 70 is certainly false. However, 67 is less than 70. That is true. So as a result, this entire statement will be considered as a true statement. Got it? Same thing now, like if you want to check like equal to 67, whether it is greater than or equal to 43. 67 is greater than equal to 43. Clearly it is a true statement. So you have understood, like see, if you only want to check whether in one input is greater than the other input, then you'll be using this greater than. Only if you want to check whether it is less than, strictly less than the other input, then you'll be using this. But if you want to check both the condition, whether it is either greater than or equal to, then you'll be using this, either less than or equal to, or equal to. Say for example, I want to check those things. So let's say here. Okay, I'll be coming. So say for example, I want to check if 90 is equal to 90. And first equal I'm writing as part of the syntax of writing a formula. These part you concentrate. When you write 90 equal to 90, what you have to understand is that you are actually doing a comparison whether 90 is equal to 90 or not. 90 is equal to 90, that is a true condition. So since it is a true condition, the output will be true. Okay. Now this symbol, now see here, one more thing again I want to tell you. This greater than operator, strictly greater than operator, it contains only one symbol, here also one, but you see there are two symbols. Both these two symbols combinedly treated as a single operator, and that is greater than or equal to operator. Two symbols combined together and treated as a single operator. Although there are two symbols, but ultimately it is a single operation, single operator. Similarly, these, when you write this greater than and less than symbol together, then that will be interpreted as when you are, as if you are checking if the first input is not equal to the second input. Okay, that is, see here what we are checking, if 90 is equal to 90 or not. That is true. But here again, if you write 90 is not equal to 90, you are saying that 90 is not equal to 90. It means that is a false statement. Got it? So these things, these are very simple things. Okay, since I'm explaining you, you might feel like, okay, there are lots of things, but if you think for a moment, these are very easy things actually. Okay, and it's just like you're checking whether one is greater than the other one is less than the other one. These are day-to-day life conditions that we typically use, right? Whether you have more money than me, whether you have more likes than me, whether you have more followers than me. So those things, whether you have equal number of or more number of followers than me, those sort of questions that we do in our day-to-day life nowadays. So the same thing is happening here. Okay, just kidding about the followers and likes things. Okay, don't you take it seriously. Now, anyhow, if I guess if people have understood. Now let's see how we can make use of these different symbols to carry out some meaningful, meaningful tasks. Say, for example, I ask you here. Now, if I ask you a question, immediately you will be able to answer me. Say, for example, I ask you this question. Say, in this range, okay, so count how many cells are there which have 40, exactly 40 in it. So for that reason, what we have to do is we have to write the answer in this way. So count if on this range, we want to check the condition if it is equal to 40 and close it down. So there are no cells in this range whose value is exactly 40. Okay, if it is the case, then let me check. Let me change this number from 34 to 40. As soon as I change this number from 34 to 40, you can see that the output is now 1. Again, suppose I make this cell as 40, and then it says that the output is 2. Okay, now say for example, I ask you count the number of cells which have any value other than say 78 or say 40. Okay, that will be good. So we know that in these range, there are two 40s, and total number of cells in this range, I guess, I don't know how many, but anyhow, see, that is where we have to use actually count function, isn't it? So okay, say for example some numbers of cells, and then count the number of cells which have any values other than 40. So how we are going to solve this problem? We are going to solve this problem in this way. Here, equal to count if. What we want to do within this range, within this input range, the first thing is you have to select the input range. Within this input range, and what condition, something which is not equal to 40, right? So we'll be writing, see, within double quotation we have to write the condition. So we have written the double quotation. If you want, you can close it, and then the actual condition. What condition we want to write? Anything which is not equal to 40. So we actually want to check if the value of a cell is not equal to 50. not equal to 40. If it is the case, then we want to count it. Otherwise, we do not want to count it. So as a result, as soon as I press enter, they'll be saying that 12 cells which have like other values than 40. So total number of cells most probably is 14. Let's count it. Total number of cells. It is simple, right? Total number of cells are like equal to count, and then within this range, whatever it is, that is 14. Out of which two are 40s and 12s are anything other than 40, right? Done. Then the same question, then I can ask you, like, count the number of cells which have count the number of cells which have values greater than or equal to 40 in it. Okay, so if this is the question, like count the number of cells which have greater than or 40 equal to it, then we have to change the condition. Instead of looking for exactly equal to 40, what we have to look for is cells which have values which are greater than or equal to 40. So in that case, as soon as I press enter, it is saying that there are 7 cells where some values are there which are greater than or equal to 50. So you can count like greater than or equal to 40. So this is 1, 2, 3. This will be counted because we have written the equal symbol. So this will be counted. 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 cells where we found some values which are greater than or equal to 40. I guess people got the idea. See, the Countif function by itself, it is easy. Now, see, as soon as I bring these different symbols into the picture, then we will be able to answer many different types of questions. And that is where the interesting part is. Now, these comparison operators, you can use not only with numbers, but also with strings also. What I mean is, say for example, I write here some names there. Say for example, Ram, and some names, okay, and Rio, and then Thomas, and then say I write some strings there: A B C, X Y Z, P Q R, and some cells like 56 U I Z, like that. Okay, some strings I have written, and let me fill it with some color to highlight them. Now say I ask you this question. Say count the number of cells. Now this time they are in the blue. I'm asking about this blue range. Okay, count the number of cells which have where or which have the value as, I'm simply writing, okay, RAM. This thing, that is, we want to count in how many cells that word RAM is there. Say for that reason, I'm typing here RAM a few more times. Now here what we want to do is we want to count if, because that is a conditional counting, right? See here, count the number of cells. Up to this point, this is count, which have the value as RAM. So this part is the condition. So it is certainly, it should be a conditional counting. It is only count is not going to work, right? It is a conditional counting. That is where, see here, this question directly, it is not asking you which function you have to use. It is simply asking you a question. It is up to you to decide, like, which to solve this problem, or to answer this question, what function you have to use. That is up to you, and that you should know. Okay, so count the number of cells which have the values as RAM. Say in this case we have decided now, okay, this problem or this question can be answered using Countif function. Certainly it can be. So we'll be writing count if, and then syntax is same. Like, first thing is you have to specify the range. On this range we want to count all the cells which have the value equal to RAM. And as soon as I press enter, you will see, okay, there are three cells which have values equal to Ram. This is 1, then 2, and then 3. So for example, I change this Ram to Ramanujan. As soon as I write here Ram, from Ram to Ramanujan, the value is now 2. Although this cell have partially Ram is there, but it is not going to count that Ram as a match because Ramanujan is not equal to Ram, right? Say here, if I write here, see, independently, now I'm writing the condition. If this Ramanujan is equal to Ram, that is a false statement, right? Ramanujan is not equal to Ram. But if I check this condition, if Ramanujan, Ramanujan is not equal to Ram, Ramanujan is not equal to Ram, and that is a true statement. Explaining the things here, but still, if you face any difficulties while understanding this video, or any doubts or any queries or any questions, you people can let me know it in the comment sections. I'd like to help you, or I'd like to explain you with some more examples. But anyhow, in this video itself, lots of other examples are going to come. So till then, hold on. Okay, hope this point is clear. Now, what we have learned is that not only with numbers we can use these comparison operators, on or with strings also we can use these comparison operators. Say, for example, if you have to count how many cells are there which have some values, then we can write it like this. Countif within this range, whether the value we are looking, whether we find any value which is equal to, or which is, which satisfies this particular condition. This condition could be anything based on the question, isn't it? Okay, and so now I ask you a different question. On this gray range, I'm asking you the question. So count the number of cells which have values greater than 40 but less than, say, 70. Now the question is asked on these gray cells. Okay, now, how you are going to answer these questions? Count the number of cells which have the values greater than 40 but less than 70 in the gray cells. That is, it means we want to count greater than 40, less than 70. It is true. 67 is also true. That is 2. It is also now greater than 40. 40 is greater than 40. That is a false. So we are not supposed to count this. So if I ask you this question manually, if you have to find it, then you will be doing it in this way. You'll go from the beginning of the range and you'll be checking each number against this condition. 23 greater than 40 but less than 70, false. This is false. This is true. Okay, and this is true. 2, false. This 78 is true 3 times, then 4 times, then 5 times. 5 cells are there within this range whose value is within this range of 40 to 70. Okay, now how we are going to do that? Now, if you try to write it equal to, you might be thinking, till now we know only count and count if. So count is certainly not going to work because it is conditional counting. But whether count if is going to work or not. Countif within this range, but the thing is, see here, this countif function allows you to write only one condition. In only one condition can we specify these conditions. The number should be greater than or greater than 40. Okay, somehow I can write it greater than 40, but how we are going to specify whether it is less than 70 or not? Okay, so you might be thinking, sir, we can write something like this, but that is not going to work. Okay, so what we have to do is, see here, you have to realize at this point that there are two different conditions we want to check. One condition is that whether that number is greater than 40, and the another condition is that whether that number is less than 70. Okay, so these two questions we want to check. Now, how we are going to do that? So to do that thing, since there are multiple conditions, we have to make use of the concept of count ifs. Now let's say what this let's see what this countifs function is doing. Okay, so we are going to now learn these countifs function. Countifs functions. What does this countifs function do? So countifs function is same as countif function. However, in this countifs, this s is actually plural form of countif. That is, if you want to check multiple conditions, then instead of using countif, you will be using countifs. Say what I mean is, so let's first see the help menu, countifs, and then open parenthesis, and then I click here, and then this will show me the help menu. Now what it is saying is that returns the count of a range depending on multiple criteria. If you want to check multiple conditions, then you can make use of this uh, count ifs function. Whatever you know with countif, it is true with countifs also. That is how to use these conditional operators and all. Only thing is that this is more flexible, or this function is more general in the sense that you can specify more than one conditions in order to check when you are doing the counting. Okay, let's now try to answer this question using this countifs function. Okay, okay, let's see. So here, say what we want to do, count the number of cells which have values greater than 40 but less than 70 in these gray cells. Okay. So first thing is that what you have to specify here is, first again, let me show you the syntax of this function. Criteria range 1 and then criterion 1. That is, on this range, the first range, this is the range 1 and this is your condition 1. On this range, you want to check this condition. And again, on this range, you want to check this condition. Both these conditions should be true at the same time, then only the cell will be counted. If things are not clear, let me now try to answer this question, then it will be clear. Okay. Now, count the number of cells which have values greater than 40 but less than 70. What we are going to do is, on this range, anything if it is greater than 40, and again on the same range, again on the same range, this second range could be same as the first range or different as the first range, but here we want, for this question, these ranges are same. That is, on this range we want to check if the greater than 40 condition is met, and again on the same range we want to check if the less than 70 condition is met. Okay, so if both these two conditions are met, then we'll be counting that particular cell. Okay, now let's press enter and see. It is showing me some error. So if I double click and then I see these things, and what it is, the error message is saying that wrong number of arguments to countif. Certainly with countif you cannot specify multiple conditions and ranges, but here actually I was telling you that we are going to use countifs function, so that as was missing. So I'm writing that as correctly and then pressing enter. Yes. Okay, done. And I'm pressing enter. So it is now telling me that there are three cells where these conditions are met. You see, um, three cells where this condition greater than or equal to greater than 40 but less than 70. 1, 2, 3. And no, this is not a match, right? This is 1 greater than 40 less than 70 true, greater than 40 less than 70 true. It is not a true statement. The 78 is greater than 40, but it is not less than 70. So it is not a match, right? 56 is greater than 40 true and less than 70 true. Both these two parts should be same, should be true, then only it will be counted. So as a result, 50, 67, and 56 will be a match. However, these 78, they are going to be discarded because they are not less than 70. So as a result, the output of these query or these countifs functions on these inputs and conditions will be 3. Hope you people have understood. Now see, one point of interest here is that in this specifically, to answer this question, whatever the inputs I have written to this countifs function, here I have specified these two ranges to be the same. because we want to check these conditions on the same range. Actually, that is on the same range. If the number is greater than 40 and at the same time that number is less than 70, then only we want to execute, then only we want to count. But sometimes these ranges could be different also. Let me give you an example. Say for example, I ask you, count how many cells are there, how many cells are there where the number, that is where, I'll refer to them by the color, where gray is greater than 40 and blue is round. Okay, so this is the question. Say for example, what you have to do is count how many cells are there where gray is greater than 40 and blue is round. It means wherever it is, like see, this particular row, if you consider, it is not a true statement, right? Gray is greater than 40, immediately that is not true, so it will not check even this other part. Here also no, here gray is greater than 40, true, but the name is, or the blue is not round, so it will also not be counted. Gray is greater than 40 and true, but it is not ram, false. Ultimately it is true, but this is also not ram, ultimately false. True, not ram, I mean, this is false. So anyhow, even if it is RAM, it is not going to count. So that way, greater than 40 and RAM is actually the output to this function. That is, the count is actually 0. Let's see how to write first using Countif function. Say, for example, just to get an answer, here I write this RAM name. That is greater than 40, true, and the name is, the blue is RAM. That is also true. So these answer to that question should be 1. Let's see how to write it using Countifs function. Again, there are multiple conditions we want to check. So for that reason, we have to make use of Countifs function. So done. So we'll be using Countifs. And then what is the, let's see here. First thing is criteria range 1. So on these range, what condition we have to check? If the number is greater than 40. Our first part is done. And then, and on these range, on these blue range, we want to check if the string is equal to round. If both these two conditions are true at the same time, then we want to count. So if as soon as I press enter, I'll get the answer as 1, because there is only one row where both these two conditions are fulfilled. Like here, greater than 40 and the value is round, true. So as a result, I got the output as 1. So now say I change this, another one I include here. Say for example, this 50 and Thomas, then 50 I change it to Ram. So as soon as I click outside, the function will be reevaluated, and as a result, you can see a 2 there. These are simple examples. Okay, now if you have understood these questions, like how to answer these questions, then you have understood most of the things. Okay, rest of the things will be repetitive in some way. The concept is already explained. So again, I'm telling you, if you find any difficulties, if people can let me know it in the comment section. Okay, now we have actually explained, we have already learned these different functions like count, counta, countif, and countifs. In itself, the functions are very simple. Count simply counts the numeric values, counta counts all the values, countif counts based on one condition, and countifs counts based on multiple conditions, not only two. It could be anything, 3, 4, 5 conditions also. If you want, you can apply. Okay, now let me give you some more examples, and those examples I will show you from, say, let me, this data set we have, right? This great data set that I already have, for which the link I already provided in the first video. So you can copy and you can download that link, this data set from there. So for explanation purpose, I'll be copying a few rows from this data set, and then I'll paste it here again. Here, say. Okay. Now suppose this is our data set. Then here we want to answer some questions here. Say for example, I ask you this question. Try to answer it by yourself. You can after, no, okay, you can say here. This is the question. Count the number of male students? Can you answer it? Pause the video for a moment and try to answer it by yourself. Okay, let me write the answer here. And if you are right, then it means you have understood the thing. So here, what we have to do is you have to count the number of male students. So what we'll do is count. Since it is a conditional counting, we have to use count if. Count if, and only one condition is enough for us, so we can use count if function. However, we can use count ifs also, no problem. Count ifs is a general form, count if is a specific form, right? Count if allows you to apply only one condition, whereas count ifs allows you to apply multiple questions, multiple conditions. So wherever you can use count if, you can use count ifs also, right? Okay. Now, count if, then what we want to do is we have to count the number of male students. That is on this range. Basically, what the question is asking is on this range, how many M are there? That is the question which is being asked, right? So we'll write here on this range, count how many cells are there whose value is equal to M. I press enter, I'll come to know there are 10 male students there. Similarly, suppose we want to count how many female students are there. How many female students are there? So we will be writing here instead of male, it is female students. So that way, the question will be, the answer will be count if, and then you can write on these range, how many apps are there, right? So that is the answer for this question 3. So as a whole, there should be 13 rows there, right? So let me check what is the total number of rows, total number of students, total students. So what is the total number of students here? It is simple. No conditional counting, right? It is only counting. Count, but again, see here, since these are like male, female, you can count it from anywhere, but suppose we want to count it from the gender column, so we'll be using count A. If you use count, it is not going to work because these are like, text, these are not numbers. So you have to use count A, and then on this range, you are basically asking the question that on this range, how many different values are there? Okay, and there are 13 different values. It means there are 13 different students are there, and then out of which 10 are male and 3 are female. Your question is your questions are answered. Now suppose I ask you this question. Say count how many students were absent from test 1. Suppose I ask you this question. These are the scores of test 1, and then I'm asking this question like count how many students were absent from test 1. And absent is marked with this A. If it is an A, it means the student was absent. So if I give you that information, then how will you be able to count it? See, on this range, as many as A's are there, that many students were absent from test 1, right? So ultimately what we have to do is, see, in this question, the formula, again, I'm saying in this question, the formula is not, explicitly asked. It is only asking you a question. What formula you want to use, you have to decide it by yourself. So now, based on this question, we learned like, okay, since we have to count how many students were absent from test 1, so these are the scores of test 1. And we know that like wherever it is an A, it means that corresponding student was absent there. So if we want to know how many students were absent in test A, then test 1, then what we have to do is we just have to look for those A's. How many A's are there? As many A's are there, that many students were absent. So we know easily now how to count, how many A's are there in test 1 scores. So we'll be writing count. Again, it is a conditional counting. Count if on this range, if the value of the cell is equal to A. So it means number of students absent in the first test was 1, only 1. So in this second test, no students were absent, 0, here also 0, here also 0. So if I change this, suppose there are 2 students absent. So here this is an A, so there are 2 students absent there. Got it? Okay. And then say, for example, I ask you another question like, how many students were absent in both test 1 and test 2? So this is test 1 scores, these are test 2 scores, and then you have to count like how many of them are there who were absent both in test 1 and test 2. So this student was absent in test 1 but he was present in test 2. So these questions should not include that particular student because he was not absent in both A and 1 and 2, right? So for example, this student was absent in both A and 2. So this should be included. And say here also this is absent, here also this is absent. So this also should be included. Now, as soon as I say how many students were absent in both test 1 and test 2, it means you should realize that you have to make use of. That is, what are the rows that we have to see? Before answering the question, you have to like you have to think logically what exactly the question is asking you. So in this data set, it is asking you like where both 1 and 2 are A's. In test 1 column also it is an A, in test 2 column also it is an A. Then only we should count it. But if it is an A in test 1 but not an A in test 2, this condition or this question, it doesn't cover those rows or those students, right? So the student should be absent from both the tests. That is what the question is asking you. Now say how you're going to write it. Since there are multiple conditions that we want to check, so we'll be writing here count ifs, and then the first condition is that on this cell, on this range of cells, the student should have the grade as A, and at the same time, on these range of cells, the student should have the grades as A. That is, if both these cells have the grade as A, we want to count it. As soon as I press enter, you will see that the answer is 2. Answer is 2. Why the answer is 2? See here, this is one student. This particular student here, it was absent from test 1 and test 2. And this particular student, although he was absent in test 1, but he was present in test 2. So he was not counted. However, this student, he was absent in both test 1 and test 2. So he was counted. Okay. So as a result, we can see that these the output of this count function is actually 2, and that is the right output, right? Now say I just to verify the answer, I make it A, and again I make it A. As soon as I click outside, this number should change from 2 to 3 because now there are 3 students who were absent from test 1 as well as test 2. Now it is 3. Okay, got it then. And then what we have to do, I can ask you some other questions also, but before that let me do one thing. This is I'm doing just to, yeah, right. See if I now make it small, it will not propagate to below cells. Okay. Okay. Now, if I ask you this question, is it possible to answer how many students are there who were absent in at least one test? Maybe it is in test 1, maybe it is in test 2, or maybe it is in test 3, or maybe it is in the final test. Okay, let me write that word test there explicitly. Okay, these are all tests. So how many students are there who were absent in at least one test? So if that is the question, then how we are going to answer this? In at least one test, like this student should not be counted. However, this student, okay, he also should not be counted. This student should be counted because he is not only absent in one test, he is actually absent in 3 different tests. So he should be counted. This one should be counted. This one should not be counted, should not be counted, should be counted, should not be counted, should not be counted, should be counted, should not be counted, and should not be, and he should be counted, right? In at least, this student also should be counted because in at least one tests, he was absent. So he should be counted. Now, how we are now going to do it? Countifs is not going to see here what this countifs does. It checks multiple condition true, that is true, but the thing is all these conditions should be true, then only it will count. But if we write on this range A, on this range A, on this range A, on this range A, then the output will be 0, because it will mean that, like, the students we are looking for those students who were absent in all the tests. But we are not looking for those students. We are looking for those students who were absent in at least one test. So this question, if you want to answer this question, you think for a moment. I mean, you will not get a direct answer of this question. You have to do it indirectly. And how we can do it indirectly? Basically, what we have to do is, here first we want to see if manually, if you do it, how do you do it? You first see on this range if there is at least one A. No, so he should not be counted. In this range, if there is at least one A, no, so he should not be counted. In this range, if there is at least one A, yeah, he should be counted, because there is at least one A. So we have to do it first, like, on in this way, like, in this range, if there is at least one A. And if you know, like, those, if you can find out those cells or those rows, then you can just count at the end, like, how many such rows you found, and that will answer your question. If it is not clear, let's now try to solve this problem, then you'll get an idea. What we want to do is, first thing is, we'll be solving this problem. This particular problem you can solve using using two steps. In the first step, we'll find out those rows where, or those students who were absent in at least one test. And how do you do this? See here, if I write now here, see, count. Now see, this is where, as I said, no, knowing the function is a different thing. How to use the function to solve some actual problem is a different thing. And that thing comes from experience and your own capability, how you can think logically, and and you have to think, like, properly. It is not something that you will by heart and things will be done. It is not that. Now, okay, now the first thing is that we want to count how many A's are there. Okay, so we'll be counting count. We'll be using countif function again. Count if, now see, on this range, if there is any A, we want to count that actually. Okay, and on this range there is no A, so it is saying me it is 0. And the same formula we want to apply on all these different rows. And you know how to do that? You simply can drag it. You can explicitly write here the formula, like count if, and then these things. You can write it explicitly, but there is a shortcut. What you can do is, since you have written this formula once here, and you want to apply the same formula on these cells, or on these, on these cells, but only by changing these, these these ranges. So what you can do is, you can actually click on, you can drag this rectangle here, and you can drag it up to the cell to which you want to fill. This property is called as autofill option. Okay, you can make use of it. Now you see, automatically these two formula, the first formula is from G173 to J173. For the next row, if you see, these ranges automatically change to cover row number 174. That is the, you could have written it explicitly, but this autofill property automatically does that thing. So I'm just making use of that autofill property by dragging it and filling it. But the rest of the things are same. What we are doing is, ultimately, what function it is we are executing? Count if on this range there is an A, we want to count. If on this range there is an A, we want to count. If on this range there is an A, we want to count. See here, on this range there are 3 A's, so the output is 3. On this range there are 1 A's, so output is 1. On this range, no, here there is an A, so we have counted it. There are 2 A's, there are 2 A's there. Now see, these are the, like, now we know that on these particular, that is, this student was absent 0 numbers of time, this particular student was absent 0 numbers of time, this one also 0 numbers of time, this was absent, this particular student was absent 3 numbers of time, he was absent 1 number of times. Now the question is, see, how many students were absent, how many students are there who were absent in at least one test? It means we have to count this particular student. He was absent 3, at least 1 satisfied. This student also satisfies the condition, this student also satisfies the condition, and all of them, this one also, this one also. So we basically have to now do a counting on this, like how many cells are there which have values greater than or equal to 1. If we know that, the answer is done, isn't it? Now let's do it now. Now here what we are going to do is to answer that question. To answer that question, I'll be writing equal to count if. We can write count if. Now see, on these range, on these intermediate range, intermediate result range, we want to count if the values are greater than or equal to 1. If it is the case, then that is the answer. So it means what? Now the answer, the question is answered. How many students are there who were absent in at least one test? So in at least one test, absent means this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 students were absent in at least one test. Now say I now ask you the same question. Say, how many students were there who were absent in at least two tests? Sorry, how many students were there at least in two tests? Now if that is the question, see, this part is same up to this, that is with these intermediate row that we have counted, that shows like how many times a particular student was absent from, from all these tests. Now this time we are not interested in looking for those students who were absent in one test, more than one. I mean, two, three, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four. We want to count only those students. So here we can write it now in this way: count if on this range, we want to count how many students were absent in more than two tests or at least two tests. So it means greater than or equal to two. Done. So there are three students who were absent in no, two, more than two students, two more than or equal to two tests. One, two, and three. Got it? So these are some queries that you can answer if you know count and count if, count all, and count ifs. Plus, also at the same time, you should know these comparison operators, how to use these comparison operators. Now we are more or less ready to learn the wildcard characters, why they are useful, what are the situations where we can use them. Okay, let's see. What are these wildcard characters? First, let me ask you a question and then you will understand where they are useful. So, for example, I ask you count the number of students whose name, whose first name starts with a J. Now that is the question. Say, for example, I'm asking. It is same counting function. We have to somehow we have to make use of this counting function. But how we are going to this comparison operators is not going to work. I mean, like comparison operators means we can compare two strings directly, whether one string is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or greater than or less than, or not equal to or equal to. But the first character of the string is a, and like that, those sort of comparison we are directly at least not possible using these comparison operators, right? So how we can do that? Actually the name could be anything, like it's not a specific value. It could be, now it is asking for some pattern, actually not a direct value. Count the number of students whose name starts with J. It means it is asking for a pattern, like J means it could be anything, like say for example John, in the first name. Okay, so in this particular column, say Jitendra, Joe, Zohol, whatever it is. And then there could be other persons also where the name starts with, the first name starts with is A. So how you are going to answer those questions? So for that reason, you need to know the use of wildcard characters. So these are simple things. You do not need to worry. These are like you will learn it immediately. There are three wildcard characters, out of which two are, right now I'm going to show you two characters, and then one I'll be giving you. I'll introduce you, after some time. The first character is this, the star symbol, or we can call it, we call it asterisk symbols. Okay, so these, simply we can call it the star symbol. This star you will interpret as anything. Okay, that is, whenever you see a star in the wildcard, it represents any character or any symbol, basically, or character I'm using interchangeably, any character, any numbers of time. of times. This is the meaning of these, asterisk or see here I wrote a equal symbol, so that's why these things were coming. But my intention was not to write a formula. So here, if you see these star symbol there, like any characters, okay, sorry, I was trying to do some, because of these it happened. Anyhow, my point is that whenever in these wildcard characters, whenever this is a star, you will interpret that star as Google Sheet application also interpret that star as any character, any numbers of time. The meaning of these wildcard character is any character, any numbers of time. What I mean by that? Okay, say for example, count the number of students whose first name starts with J. So we can do something like this, equal to count, and then here number of students whose first name starts with J. We have to use a count function, okay, or basically count if function because it is conditional. Count if on which range? On this first name range. Okay, up to that part, things were done. Things are done. Now, the thing is the condition part. How do we write the condition? If it is the questions were like count the number of students whose name is, say, John, the things were simple, right? We can write it like John. But whose name is, say, for example, Jamil, we can write equal to Jamil. Whose name is Johnson, we can write Johnson. But it is not asking that question. It is asking whose name starts with J, whose name starts with J. So what we can do is we can write like equal, then J. The first character is J, it is for sure. Okay, and then the rest of the characters we do not know. It could be number 3 characters, it could be 4 characters, it could be 10 characters, it could be anything. And those characters also we do not know. Like it could be anything. J, then ABC, J, XYZ, Jamil, John, or zebra, or not zebra, say whatever that starts with a J, okay, Jack, like that. So those things, right? So that is where this wildcard is going to be important. Now it means what we are looking for, we want to count on this range all the cells whose value starts with a J, because we have written here this J explicitly. It means now J and then star. Star means anything, any numbers of time. It could be Jamil, it could be Jack, it could be John, it could be Johnson, it could be anything that starts with a J. Okay, let's press enter and see what is the output. Now 2. That is, it is see here on this range there are 2 names that starts with J. Jitender and then Jaholal. Okay, so for that reason, we are getting an output as 2. Now, say for example, I change this thing, this Farhan or Farman or whatever to German. So in that case, what will happen is now the output is 3. The 3 names there, 3 first names were found that starts with a 3, or that starts with a J. So that's what. Now see J equal to J star. It means starting with J, and then after that it could be anything, any numbers of time. Any character, any numbers of time. That is the meaning of these first wildcard character. Okay. Now let's see some use case of these wildcard characters. Okay, if I ask you this question, then count the number of students whose first name starts with a J and ends with, now see, and ends with an E, say. Okay, so we are looking for all those students. So what could be their names? It could be like this. Let me give you some examples where what type of names you are looking for. It could be like, say, starts with J, ends with E. If suppose there is a student whose first name is JE, it should be a match because it starts with J, ends with E. So there is a student whose name is J, and some characters, and then at the end E is there. So it should be a match. And J, some X, and then E. It should be a, and then E. It should be a match. See, Only condition that we want to verify is that it should start with a J, it should end with a E, end with an E. In between that, there could be no symbols or no characters. There could be multiple characters, and those characters could be E, W, X, or J, or they could be anything, right? Only point of interest is it should start with J, end with E. That's all. Using wildcard, can we solve this? Now see, it is possible, right? If I write now J star E, it means what? J, and after that, any number of characters, any number of times, we do not care. But the last character should be E, that we know, that we want to make sure. So if I write J star E, you see, this particular expression matches this thing also, because J, then zero number of characters, zero numbers of time, no characters basically, right? So it is a match. If I write J star E, it is a match with this one also, because J and this star is like this, anything, any number of time in between part, and then the last E is this last E. It's a match. So here also it's a match, like J is this J, and all these X's will be matched with this star, and then this E is a match with this E, right? So if you have understood this point, then you'll be able to write the answer here, right? So it is count if again, count if, because we want to check only one condition, so we are making use of count if. Count if on this range, if count if on these range, if the condition is what, it should start with J, then after that anything, any number of characters, any number of times, and then it should end with an E, and then press enter. It is saying that the output is 0, because most probably there are no names. Like say for example, explicitly I write here an E, explicitly I write here a, okay, this I do not want to be a match, is I want to be a man, say. So although there are three names that start with J, but only two names are there where the first character is J, last character is E. First character is J, however, the last character is not a J. First character is J, the last character is E. So out of this, in this range of cells, only two students have names that matches this question, not this question, matches this particular question. So as a result, this countif function is giving us the right output. Now say I ask you this question. Count the number of students whose name has exactly 5 characters. Now, how you are going to answer this question? To answer that question, what you need to know is you need to know another wildcard character, that is this question mark. This question mark represents one character, any character, but one number of time. Okay. See, this star can be, the meaning of this star was like the star can be replaced by any character, any number of time. It means if you write this star equal to, actually this star can be replaced by A, it can be replaced by ABC, it can be replaced by nothing, it can be replaced by A, some garbage characters like this. A star is like this. A star can be replaced by either A or some ABC or maybe nothing, okay, including zero numbers of character. However, this question mark is like, it is any character, but exactly one number of time. That word should be there. Any character, exactly one number of time. It means what? This star can be replaced by either an A or a B, but it cannot be replaced by a blank, because it is here exactly one number of time. Star can be, question mark can be replaced by only one character. It could be anything. The character may be an X, or maybe a 9, or maybe it is symbol, opening bracket symbol, or it could be anything, but it should be only once. It will be replaced only once, okay, when it does the searching. Okay, now let us try to answer this question. Count the number of students whose name has exactly 5 characters. How we are going to do this? Okay, we are going to do this in this way. Say equal to count. This is interesting. Okay, you just have to think for a these while characters part. When it starts, you can actually pause the video there for a moment. Although I'm talking something which happened in the past, but still, you can learn this part after taking a break. So count if, and then things are simple. Okay, no problem. It's like very simple. This concepts, if it clicks, then very easy actually. Count if, and then what we want to do is we want to count which have exactly 5 characters in the first column. I mean in the first name column. So count if, first let me write the range. In this range, if within this range, how many names are there which have exactly 5 characters. So we do not know what are those characters, but we know that there should be exactly 5 characters. So we are using this thing: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. There should be exactly 5 characters. One, two, three, four, five. This star can be replaced by anything other than blank. It could be replaced by anything. It could be A, B, C, D, E. It could be, X, Y, Z, P, Q. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it could be anything. But the thing is that, there should be exactly 5 characters there in this range. And if it is a math, then it will be counted. Okay, let's first close it and press enter. As soon as I press enter, you can see that there are like 3 names which have exactly 3 characters. Let's verify it. Which have exactly 5 characters. I'm sorry. Verify it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a match. It is not a match. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Match. Obviously not a match. 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 This is a match. 3 times match found. Not a match. Not a match. Not a match. This is also not a match. Like there are 6 characters there. But suppose I make it 4 or 5. Then as soon as I make it 5, then this output will also change from 3 to 4. Got it? So this is the another wildcard character that you have to use. There are only 3, so 2 are down and then only 1 is left, and that character is tilde character. Now why that character is important and what does it do? Okay, let's see. Let's say for example, there is a student whose name itself contains this star. Okay, and then whose name itself contains this star. Okay, I write this star at the beginning for some reason, but anyhow it could be anywhere in the middle, and obviously it is not a valid name, but still, just for the sake of an example, say there are some students whose name starts with a star, sometimes starts with a question mark, sometimes starts with a question mark, like that. Okay, and then what question I'm asking, see here, right now this star is not a special symbol. This star will have its meaning, these wildcards will have its meaning only when you write them, in the condition part of some, conditional counting or conditional sum statements, like this, within this double quotation condition part. Okay, but if it is other than that, they can be like somewhere as normal characters. Like say for example, there is a person whose first name is star Samim, another name is there like star Jarman or star Lakshman, like that. Just for the sake of an example, I'm writing these symbols here. But again, in point of interest is that these are not special characters, these are like as part of the name, say. Okay, like this. Now what my question is, that suppose now we want to look for, that is count how many students, how many first name are there that starts with, or those starts with those start with a star. Now that is the question. See, let me write another version of the question. Count, the same question most probably, and most of the things are same in this question also, but instead of a star, say this question already you have answered, but still again I'm writing it. 2 questions. One is that how many first names are there? Those start with an A, start with a star, and then count how many first names are there. Those start with a H. This question is very easy, isn't it? We have to count. We have to count based on the condition on these range, on these first name range. We have to count those students whose name starts with an H. So we can write here, right? Uh, equal to an H, or we can write simply H star, equal to H star, or equal to simply H star, that will work. But yeah, equal to H star. As soon as I press enter, You'll say that output is 0 because most probably no students are there whose name starts with an H. Starts with an H, this name, and say this name starts with an H. There are two students whose name starts with an H. So here there are two students starts with an H. We can write it very easily, right? Even if you do not write that equal symbol, it will work. Two students whose names are equal to H star. It means H, and then after that it could be anything. No problem. That is fine. Now, if we see the questions, this question is same as this question. Only thing is different that the character that we want to, the first character that we are interested in is different. Here we are interested in the character H. Here we are interested in the character star. But if now if I write the same, if now we know that for H this answer worked. So same answer I copied from like here to here, not here to here, the range I have to specify that within this range, we are looking for the characters, we're looking for the name that starts with a star, and then after that anything, and then we press enter. Now see the question, the answer that we wrote here, that starts with a star and then followed by a star. But how the computer will know that this star is only the first character star and this star is the wildcard character star, right? Basically the computer will interpret both of them as wildcards. So as a result, what will happen is all the cells will be counted. See, the output is actually 13. Why it is 13? Because all the cells are counted. Two wildcards, even if you have written two wildcards, then this is a match, right? This Samir can be matched with star star, because star can be replaced by any number of character any number of times. So Samir is a match. H Shiv is also a match against a star. So all of these names are actually matched against a star. So as a result, there are 13 cells are there, like see 13 rows are there. So all of them are counted. As a result, you are seeing the output as 13. So for that reason, we need these special symbol tilde. And this is an escape character. Okay, why we use it? See, if you want to tell the computer or tell the Google Sheet application that, okay, these particular star you do not interpret as a wildcard, then you can do so by making use of this tilde character. How you can do that? We'll write now the tilde symbol in front of it. Now tilde and then star. It means after tilde, if a star is coming, this star will not be considered as a special symbol, not be considered as a wild card. However, after that, if this star comes, then that will be a wild card, no problem. But now here, what it means is that the Google Sheet application will come to know, okay, this first star, it should not be treated as a wild card. It should be treated as a normal symbol like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Okay, so that way, if I change that, if I do that modification in my formula, then you'll see that it is now giving me the right output. Star, and there are two names there who that will start with star, this name and that name. If I now do a change here, say in front of Muhammad also, if I put a star, oh, in front of Muhammad also, if I put a star, or even if I put three stars, then also it will be counted. Okay, let's see. Now there are three names that starts with a star. And you should understand now what this tilde or this escape character is doing. It is actually saying Google application that you do not consider this particular star as a wildcard. However, for this star, it is no, the one escape character will be applicable to only one special character. Okay, now this pair is gone. Now for this star, it will be again Google Sheet application will treat this star as a wildcard character. Have you understood this thing? Okay, let me ask you one question. If you have understood, then you should be able to answer me this question. Say, count how many names are there starting with, I mean, first names are there, okay? First names are there starting with star star. If I ask you this question, how are you going to answer it? Pause the video for a moment, write your answer, and then you check against the against my answer. If it is a like if it is the right answer, then you understood the things. Okay, concepts. Okay, let's first try. Now we are interested in all the names that starts with two stars. Now say for that, before that, let me now write the another version of this question. Say we are interested in all the names that starts with an R and an A. After R A, it could be anything, but the first two characters should be R and A. If I ask you this question, how will you answer? It is simple, right? You will write count if on these range, if the first character is R, second character is A, and after that it could be anything, then that should be counted. So done. Now there are only one name that has RA at the beginning. Let me check which one. This Rajendra. The Rajendra, this name has RA at the beginning, and the rest of them do not have. So the count is one. So it is telling us that okay, count is one. Same condition if you apply here, then what will happen? That okay, equal to count if on these range we are looking for two stars, and after that it could be anything. But the thing is, this first star we want to escape, right? Because it is not a special symbol, so we can write it in this way. But if you write only one tilde, then what will happen is it will save only this first star from being a wildcard. However, this second star will again be treated as a wildcard. As a result, the output will be, as you know, 13. The output will be 3 because there are three names there that starts with a star, right? There are three names that starts with a star, like one star, one star, one star, three names. But we were interested only this particular name, only in this name, because this is the only one name where two stars. It is that actually starts with at least two stars, right? So what we have to do is, if we want to explicitly mention that the first two stars are not special symbol or not the wildcard star, we have to explicitly escape each star. Like the first star, we have to tell Google Sheet application that okay, the first star is not a wildcard character, the second star is also not a wildcard character, and rest of the characters could be anything. Say Muhammad, in this case it should be a match, and then in this, see here right now it is showing us the output as one. Here it is output as one, but say for example I write there another name, say Ruby, and I write that two stars, so that is also a match. Then Samir and two star, which is a match. So as a result, we should get the output as 3 star. The first star is the normal, the character star, not the wildcard star. The second star is also a normal character star, not the wildcard star. So it means we are looking for anything that starts with star star, and after that star star it could be anything. It could be a star, it could be a question mark, it could be, you know, A B C D E F G H, anything. Okay, now if I ask you this question, then count the question now. Count number of first names starting, or names ending with a question mark. Say this is my question. Okay, this question is not a question mark. I mean this question mark is like, okay, let me write it within quotation, that ends with this question mark. Okay, now how do we do that? Say for example, this is a name that ends with a question mark, and here it ends with a question mark. So we are actually interested in these two names. Okay, so how we are going to do this? So if I write here equal to count if on these range we are interested in all the names that ends with a question mark. So ends with a question mark, it will work, it will not work actually, see, but the starting point could be anything. If I simply write it in this way, and if you think that answer is right, then it is not right answer. What it will do is actually, see, on this range, anything, and at the end, we want a question mark. Now, if you simply write this way, then what it will do is it will write anything, and then at the end there should be one character. That character could be anything, but it will consider that thing as a maths. So if I write the answer in this way, it will basically return me 13. All of them will be a maths, right? But I want this question mark to not to be treated as a special symbol. So what I'll do is I have to escape this question mark by making use of this same tilde character. Now you should understand you should realize the use of this tilde character whenever you want to remove the special property of a wildcard character. You can use this tilde character in front of that wildcard character. Now as soon as I write that star tilde question mark, it means any string that ends with a question mark, we are looking for those strings. So there are two strings, two names, two first names are there, which are ending with a question mark. So we are getting the right output here, right? So that's all about the wildcards. And one thing only left is that special symbol concatenate operator. But since this video is getting longer, so what am I thinking is that I'll cover that other character, that concatenate operator character in the next video. Do not you worry, that is a very simple, simple operator. You will learn it in 1 minute. But before that, what I want you people to do is I want you people to understand. See here, although we have learned today, we have learned actually lots of things. We have learned about these four functions, how to use them, what are their syntax, what are the situations that where we'll be using those functions, and then we have learned these different comparison operators. And then we learned like how we can use those different comparison operators to solve some problems like this. And then we learned about these wildcards and these special symbol tilde, that can be used as a as an escape character to remove the wildcard property from a wildcard character when it is used inside a condition, if it is needed. Like say for example, in this case, how many names are there that starts with star star. Here we do not want that star to be treated as a wildcard. We are like, that star means the normal, it is as normal as any other characters there. And then we have seen some examples where we can use these wildcard characters and how we can solve some problems there. Okay, done. Up to this point, I explain you the things, and what I ask you people to do is you people also do the practice. I mean, the same questions you also try to answer. That is one thing that I want you people to do. And another thing that I want people to do is, what I'll do is I will give you a set of questions. Say this is my, like, I simply copied some rows from our grade data set, and then here what you have to do is you have to check your understanding using this countif, countifs, and then wildcards. Okay, all these different concepts. These questions you have to answer using either countif, countifs, or wildcards. Okay, all these concepts that I explained, based on that, if you try to answer these questions, then that will concretize your understanding. If you can answer this question, it means that you people have understood. Try to answer these questions by yourself. Think what you can do. Say for example, count how many students are there who scored greater than 50 in test 1. How will you answer? Simple, right? You have to use a countif function, and on test 1 means countif function on this particular column. But the thing is here, these questions are written in English. I mean, only the question is written. What function is to be used, how many times it is to be used, what are the wildcards you want to use, and all these, or what are the conditions that you want to use. Nothing is like, explicitly mentioned, only in terms of questions I'm giving you. Now, interpret the question and try to find out, out of these different tools that you just learned, like countif, countifs, wildcards, and the conditional operators, what how you can use them together to solve or to answer these different questions. So what I'll do is I'll share this question. See here, this part is already with you. I mean, you can copy any rows from the grade card grade sheet data set that I already shared with you. and only thing left is these questions. So what I'll do is I'll share these questions in the description section of the video, and from there you copy it and then you try to answer these questions by yourself. If you find any difficulties or any question that you find difficult to answer, if people can let me know it in the comment section, I'll certainly try to help you. Okay guys, then that much only in today's video. See you guys in the next video. Till then, have a nice day.